Hello everyone, Sunderek here. So this is another lore video. In this lore video, it's going to be quite a big one. I want to explain my entire take on what is going to be the situation with Inazuma. Now of course I'll do that through visions because Inazuma is currently going through a vision hunt decree. And then diving into what we know about vision so far and trying to expand it, I think maybe we're able to dig up what might be some valuable insight into what the heck is going on with Inazuma right now. Now, before I get started, I just want to say this is all personal speculation. I do not know if this will be really the case. However, everything I'm stating in this video will have some sort of either proof or comes from an argument that should be logically sound and acceptable. Another thing to note is that this video will be divided into 5 sections in general. So the first one will be building off what I did in my last lore video regarding visions. So I will be summarizing what I think is how someone gets a vision. The second part of the video will be explaining why people like Venti and Zhongli can still use their elemental powers respectively after losing their gnosis. The third part will be explaining how visions came to be and what using elemental powers was like before the era of the vision. The fourth section will be explaining what's the price of a vision bearer has to pay. Now we already know that for a delusion bearer to pay the price can go from anywhere between body drain in the case of child to death in the case of Diluc's father. So we'll also talk about what's the price to pay for a vision bearer, because currently it looks like there is a hidden price that has to pay and no one really talks about that. And finally, going from that, that kind of summarizes why vision might not exactly be a very good thing. That kind of leads into why the Electro Archon is doing her vision hunt decree, and why that actually might be for the benefit of Inazuma people themselves, even though she is kind of acting bossy and very kind of ruling like a tyrant right now. So that will be the 5 sections of the video. So let's get started. The first one, I just want to really quickly go over what I stated in the last video of why the traveler can use vision, can use elemental powers without a vision. In that video, I kind of stated what I think is the stages that you have to go through in order to awaken your first vision given by your respective archon. Now I just want to really go over that process again, because last time when I had it, some people had different arguments, so this time I brought a little bit more proof to kind of solidify my argument here. So basically I believe and vision awakens in 2 stages. So what an archon gives you is always going to be a masterless vision, and once you get a vision, the vision itself will try to connect with whoever is the first vision bearer, and in turn the vision itself will try to figure out what elements best suits his or her personality, and then the vision will request such element from the respective elemental archon. If the elemental archon agrees, then a deal is made. In this case, the vision will awaken with that element as the fully awakened vision. And if that is not the case, then if the archon refuses to provide the elemental source for that vision, then it'll go to the next closest archon and go through the request. So currently there has been no one that has been rejected by all 7 archons, so that case is nothing. However, a few other peculiar cases, people can reawaken other people's vision given if they have a strong enough desire, because vision is kind of the physical manifestation of one's desire themselves, and that has 2 proofs. First, Ningguang's vision is actually not hers originally. She found it somewhere, she tried to sell it, but as she was selling it, the vision awakened as Geo. So she kinda got unhappy, but she got stuck with the Geo vision. That's how her Geo vision came to be. It was not hers originally to begin with. And the second one is Diluc's vision actually became masterless for a while after the death of his father, because his desire within him was kind of melted down, because the Knights of Favonius did not really want to do anything against it. So he went undercover to literally toss out like half of Shinetsunaya's Fatui strongholds, and then later when he came back, his desire is reawakened, so his vision became back into Pyro vision again. That's the case with Diluc. So these are the two cases basically stating that a vision can become masterless after one's desire is buried deep enough, and a masterless vision can awaken no matter who is the vision, whether the vision bearer is the original one or someone else given a strong enough desire. So for the fact that the vision is given always by the archon of the region, but the elements of the vision is given by the respective elemental archon, I have two proofs. I have three proofs in total. The first one comes from Kachin and Klee's voice lines. Kachin thanked Morax and Klee thanked Barbados respectively for their visions. Now, of course, in Klee's case, you can argue she might not even know who gave her the vision. But in Kachin's case, I believe it is pretty clear that she knows her vision came from Morax, and even though Baal is the one who powered her vision with Electro, but Morax is the one to thank for giving her a vision in the first case. The second one is again regarding Baal's vision hunt decree. Now, Baal hunts all vision types in Inazuma, all 7 elements. So if she did not hand out most of those visions and they turn into different elements by themselves, she would literally be offending all 6 other archons for doing that. And I think she's smart enough to not make a move like that. So, at least in my perspective, I think it is very clear that she knows what she's doing, and she's taking back the vision that she's giving out that turned into different elements, not she's literally going around and yanking people visions from other archons and being like, I need the visions. The third part is that the visions frame, the design is unique based on the owner's hometown or current permanent address, if that makes sense. So all Mondstadt visions looks the same, all Leah visions looks the same, and Child's visions looks different from everybody else because currently he is the only playable Shinetsunayan character. And in the case of most of the Fatui Harbingers, most of them I believe, if not all of them, will have a vision, and all of them should have the symbol from Shinetsunaya because all of them come from different places. However, it is the Cryo Archon Tsuritsa who give them their vision because Shinetsunaya is their current permanent address, if that makes sense, instead of their original hometown whom they abandoned already. So going back to my internet playing example again, so I'm going to try to use this analogy again. I know it doesn't make sense in all cases, but I think it makes sense in most cases. So imagine Celestia as the government agency that's in charge of dealing with the wireless industry. Celestia gets to choose who are the archons. So in case Celestia, the government agency, gets to choose who are the vision providers, in this case who are the internet plan providers. The physical vision itself can be like a modem. You do need a modem to get an internet plan. So, but in Tevat's case, you can only purchase the modem from your local supplier, i.e. the local archon. In Shinetsunaya's case, it's Tsuritsa. In Leah's case, it's Morax. In Mondstadt's case, it's Barbados. However, once you get your modem, you are automatically assessed to which internet plan works best with your situation. So in this case, the vision assesses which element works best with you. And if the internet provider agrees, in this case who's also the 7 who sells the modems, so if any of them agree, then a deal is made, you have an internet connection. And if the internet provider does not want to give you their special and only plan that only they can provide, then you have to move on to the next best option. So in this case, it's exactly why there hasn't been a lot of new Electro or Geovision within the past few years in Tevat, because Baal no longer wants to give out visions since she's already hunting down everyone within Inazuma for their visions, and for some reason the Neo Dendro Archon is also hesitant to give out visions. I'll explain why the Neo Dendro Archon does not want to give out visions later. Now moving on to the second topic, very quickly going over why Venti and Zhongli can use their respective elemental powers without a vision or a gnosis. Now, if you aren't aware, the vision they hand on themselves are just fake glowing balls to essentially avoid suspicion of, them using elemental powers without a vision. So that's exactly why they have those fake visions. They're not actual visions. Which is why I believe Venti's vision will not glow if you swap to Venti, whereas like if you swap to Jin, her vision will glow anemo. So basically the similar answer is that they are similar to slimes and whooper flowers in the sense that they are made up of elemental beings made up of the elements themselves. Now of course we do not know Zhongli's true form, and that dragon he appeared in is also not his exact true form. Now however, we do know Venti's true form. He was a wind spirit. I think he is still a wind spirit, but he was just a wind spirit at that time. And the wind spirit is made purely of the animal element itself, which means like slimes, he can use animal just fine without a gnosis or a vision. However, it is to note that without their gnosis, they cannot use their corresponding element to the same degree as before. If you listen to Zhongli's ascension lines, I believe the second last one is "My power is coming back," not as much as before, but enough, something along those lines, essentially meaning that he is getting stronger now. He is still at the Archon level, however he is not at the same level as the 7 Archons because he no longer holds his gnosis. Moving on to the third part, the origin of visions. Now it is actually surprising to know, but visions were not a thing until after the Archon War. Before the Archon War, in fact, even humans can use elemental powers just by reading scrolls that teaches them how to use it. Now, these scrolls can now commonly be found by the beating up the Samatrolls from outside. The Samatrolls will drop different variants of the scrolls. And if you actually read the text of the scrolls, it summarizes the fact that these scrolls can teach you how to use magic, which in this case is elemental powers, and those who actually use it all have gone crazy. Those who knows how to wield the power of elements all have gone crazy. Now of course we don't know if that is a side effect, just a natural one, or it's a caveat put on by Celestia. However, we do know that after the Archon War, the Celestia tried their best to completely stop this approach of using vision, of using elemental powers. Instead, the Celestia asked or forced the Archons to hand out visions. Examples of this being Ganyu, Xiao, and probably to some extent Yoi Miko, because we don't know how old she is, but definitely Ganyu and Xiao, both of whom fought during the Archon War. Both of them knows how to use elemental powers before they got their vision. However, they stopped gaining the ability to use elemental powers now without their vision. So that is essentially what happened. Now the fourth one we want to discuss is the price of the vision. And to summarize, you basically disappear. And it's not a good sense of disappearing. You basically vanish from the world. Now this is taken from the book Heart's Desire Moonlight. It there reveals a story. It's a couple, so basically two lovers, normally meets at a tavern and they drink pretty much on a daily basis. However, one day the guy just completely disappeared. The girl could not find the guy, so she got kind of depressed. She went to the tavern again and she got blackout drunk and left. After she left, the guy came out from behind the counters, and the tavern owner was kind of confused, so he asked him why. The guy showed her his new vision, and he also said, "I heard that anyone who obtains one of these will disappear from the world one day, so maybe it's better for her to forget about me while she is still young." And the tavern owner surprisingly just did agree with the fact, and she also replied that, "So you're one of the chosen ones." And then she refused to tell the boy what will really happen to him being one of the chosen ones. Essentially, that was the story conveyed through Heart's Desire Moonlight. Now that is a side thing of basically proving that having a vision bearer will eventually make you disappear to some extent. And we don't know if all the disappear were in the same case as like Larissa, you go to Celestia, which there's also a theory saying that Celestia is actually a prison to hold all vision bearers. However, we do know that within Teyvat right now, it might just be for the aesthetics of the game because you don't want to play as older people for some reason. However, we do not see any old-aged vision bearers in game at all, whether they're playable or not. The oldest guy we know, now of course this has to exempt Xiao and Ganyu from this example because their relative age to their actual lifespan is still pretty young. So we're talking about relative age here, not absolute age. The oldest guy we know that had a vision is the guy who keeps on eating from Smitey, the cook from Wang Shuyin. You can normally find him fishing just outside Wang Shuyin on one of the smaller islands, and he used to have a vision. However, he tossed his vision away after, he got bored with it, or he accomplished what he wanted to do with the vision. And he is currently the oldest guy that we know that had a vision. So basically, this also kind of proves the price of vision. There is a price to pay for wielding a vision, which means, and the price right now is to basically vanish from the world of Teyvat. Moving on to the 4.5, I guess, is basically comparing vision with delusion. Basically, the price to pay for delusion can go anywhere from significant body drain in Child's case to basically immediate death in Diluc's father case. So it is hard to think that basically vision and delusion works the same. It's just that delusion are man-made technology and vision is the technology of the gods. It is hard to think that there is absolutely no side effects of vision. Again, this is assuming that Celestia is the overall being evil lord in this situation, which is how most of my theory starts. But essentially, it is very clear that Celestia giving out vision is not acting in the favor of the inhabitants of Teyvat. However, it is for some reason in some sort of favor within Celestia. Now, we already know that the Geo and Anemo Archon handed away their gnosis willingly. I'm going to argue Venti's case as willingly because he literally basically did nothing and basically lets the Tsuritsa yank it out of him very easily. But in Zhongli's case, it's 100% given out willingly. And given the fact that the Electro Archon stopped giving out visions, and also we don't see any Dendro visions in-game except for Baizhu, and of course some another child who might show up in the future, who I shall not name, also possesses a Dendro vision. So right now the count is 2 Dendro visions in-game, and Electro has also not seen any new users until basically this patch since launch. So basically, Electro and Dendro are the 2 rarest vision types in game at the moment. So I believe there is a reason behind all of this, why the Dendro Archon, the Archon of Wisdom, decides to not give out Dendro visions for the specific reason. There might be a huge reason behind this. And of course, for the Electro Archon, we know she doesn't want to give out visions anymore. Now, it is clear in this case that the Vision Bearer is being used as sort of test subjects to achieve something that the Celestia wants, but the people of Teyvat will not benefit from this at all. So basically, this goes into my final point, which is point number 5, the real reason, what I think is the real reason that Inazuma is going through Vision Hunt Decree right now, and why Bao is trying to collect visions from everyone forcefully, even though forcefully. So there is a quote within the Vajrata Amethyst gemstone, basically the gemstone for Electro characters ascension, the gemstone needed for Electro characters ascension. In the final sentence, it says, "It once promised its people a dream, the never-changing eternity." Now basically this is talking about Inazuma and the Electro Archon. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that Bao is sort of acting like those, teenagers' parents, if that makes sense. They try to force you to do something that they think is good for you and might actually be good for you in the future, but of course you won't like right now. And what they're actually doing is, instead of telling you that it is good for you in the future, or instead of telling you why it is good for you in the future, what they're doing is they're just straight up telling you to do it and forcing you to do it. That is basically my explanation for why Bao is doing the Vision Hunt Decree very forcefully. Now, if we draw back to what Zhongli said at the end of Aztaha's questline, he basically told us he cannot tell us anything regarding what's going to happen in the future because he signed a contract that forced him to not tell anything. Now, what's to say that the 6 other Archons did not sign this contract as well? Now, of course, Zhongli is the Archon of contract, so he has to honor that contract because he is the god of contract. But the 6 other Archons should also honor the contract, which means, I mean, honestly, we did not get much useful information out of Venti. He basically told us about the gnosis and a vision bearer. That's about it. And for Baal here, I believe in her case, she is kind of also forced to not be able to tell anything to her people regarding vision and stuff like that. So instead, what she has to do, she has to forcefully take it away from her people, because it is not a good thing. And in the end, I mean, to sum up, I believe that maybe the Vision Hunt degree is the Electros Archon's way of achieving this dream of never-changing eternity, but not in the sense of her throne being never-changing and then she can sit as the Electro Archon forever, but the ever-changing eternity in this case might be for the people of Inazuma instead. Because, I mean, after all, if Baal is evil, we beat Baal. Baal tells us some useful information. This story plot seems way too simple for a game like Genshin Impact, who has been running like plot twist after plot twist. I have a feeling that Inazuma is going to have another plot twist, and I believe personally, from what I know, this might be the plot twist. That is all the information I have for you today. If you like the content, please consider subscribing. Thank you and have a nice day.